So you think owning just 0.01 Bitcoin isn't a big deal? Here's the truth. If you hold even that tiny amount, you're already ahead of 99.96% of the global population. That's more rare than being a millionaire and more rare than owning beachfront property, vintage cars, and fine art. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly where you rank in the Bitcoin wealth pyramid and help you visualize just how incredibly rare even small Bitcoin holdings are. And you'll see how the door to early Bitcoin ownership is closing, and fast. Most people won't even understand the opportunity that they've missed until it's too late. So let's dive in. How many people in the world do you think currently own Bitcoin? Take a guess. Maybe 15%? 5%? 1%? If you guessed even 1%, you're still way off the mark, because the real number is a tiny fraction of a percent. The big blue circle in this chart represents the 8 billion people in the world who own zero Bitcoin. That's all the no coiners. And the tiny pink circle, that's everyone who holds at least 0.01 Bitcoin. It's so small you can barely see it. And that represents just 0.04% of the world's population, meaning that 99.96% of people on the planet own either zero Bitcoin or own less than 0.01 Bitcoin or 1 million sats. So if you already own more than that, congratulations, you're in the top 0.04% based on current data. It can be easy to overlook this if you're in the Bitcoin space and constantly comparing yourself to an endless list of Bitcoiners who seem to be hodling large stacks. Sometimes it can seem like a small amount, like 0.01, is almost pointless. But if we zoom out, you'll have the opportunity to see just how early and rare you actually are. First, let's consider Bitcoin ownership in the context of Bitcoin's available supply. You're probably already aware that there will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin. That number is fixed. No central bank, no politician, no CEO can inflate it. It was pre-programmed in since Bitcoin's inception. As of mid-2025, about 19.6 million of the 21 million Bitcoin have already been mined, but it's estimated that at least 3 million are gone forever due to lost keys, destroyed hard drives, or early users who forgot they ever had it. This leaves an estimated circulating supply of about 16.6 million Bitcoin. But that doesn't mean it's all available. Only about 2.4 million Bitcoin, around 15% of the circulating supply, are currently held on exchanges, meaning the Bitcoin that is actually tradable. And that number is dropping fast, down 20% since November 2024. Bitcoin's liquidity is evaporating, while demand is rising. Let's say you were to divide those 16.6 million coins evenly among the global population, you'd get just 0.002 Bitcoin per person, about 200,000 sats each. So if you're holding more than 0.002 Bitcoin, you're already above the global average in Bitcoin wealth. That might sound a bit far-fetched, but this is the reality of a truly scarce digital asset. Scarcer than gold, scarcer than real estate, far more scarce than Apple or Nvidia stock, and scarcer than many of the rarest collectible assets. You may have already seen the old sea creature charts, like this one: shrimps, dolphins, whales, etc., based on Bitcoin wallet balances. But this chart has been around for a long time, and let's be honest, most of us aren't swimming with whales. So I've reworked it into something a bit more relevant, a Bitcoin wealth tier system where your category is represented by a car model, from your simple scooter to an Italian supercar. So first up, we have the Vespa, which represents all holders with less than 0.01 Bitcoin. This tier includes 88% of all Bitcoin wallet addresses. You're still early and you're moving, but it's not fancy. Most people fall here. Now let's take a look at holders with a more substantial amount of Bitcoin. So of the Bitcoin holders who have more than 0.01 Bitcoin, here's the breakdown of wealth tiers. So next level up, we have the Hyundai, which is 0.01 to 0.1 Bitcoin. This group makes up about 69% of all wallets that hold more than 0.01 Bitcoin. You're practical and you've moved beyond the basics. You're on the road and you're stacking sats steadily. So moving beyond the sensible sedan, we have the Tesla tier, which is 0.1 to 1 Bitcoin. Only 30% of wallets reach this level. In the Tesla tier, you're cruising with comfort and even a bit of style. So now let's head up to level Porsche, 1 to 10 whole Bitcoin. Now we are talking. You're sleek, powerful, and turning heads. Just 8% of wallets make it into this range. Now we are heading into serious rarity. And finally, we have the Lamborghini, which is 10 plus whole Bitcoin. The top 1.2% of all wallets, the elite supercars of Bitcoin. These are the true Bitcoin OGs, long-term holders or high net worth buyers who saw the potential early. And yes, I know that wallet data isn't the same as person level data. One person can have multiple wallets. Some exchange wallets hold funds for thousands of users. So while this isn't perfect, it's the best available proxy we have for understanding distribution. And according to the best estimates, the actual number of individual holders is probably 3 to 4 times smaller than the number of wallets. Let's make this even more concrete. I want you to visualize each level of Bitcoin ownership as the number of people in a large city. So here's what those levels would look like if you lived in one of these cities, all of which have similarly sized populations. First up, we have New York City. If you hold between 0.01 and 0.1 Bitcoin, you'd be one of just 9,175 people in the entire city. That's less than the number of employees at a large tech company. If you own 0.1 to 1 whole Bitcoin, you're one of only 3,296 people in all of Greater London. This is the number of spectators at one small football game. Now we have Hong Kong. If you own between 1 and 10 Bitcoin, you're one of just 888 people in the city. And that's fewer than the number of multimillionaires living in this financial powerhouse. And last, we have Chicago. If you hold between 10 and 100 Bitcoin, there's only 131 other people in the entire city that have that level of Bitcoin. Roughly the number of people having dinner at a single busy restaurant. If this data is surprising or it motivates you to keep stacking, hit like and tell me which car you'd be driving or which city you'd be living in the comments below. And if you're finding this helpful, share it with someone who's stacking but maybe doesn't realize how far ahead they already are. Now let's compare Bitcoin wealth tiers with traditional net worth brackets. So to be in the top 10% of net worth in the US, you need around $1.2 million worth of wealth. In the UK, it's about £600,000, and in Australia, that's nearly 2 million Australian dollars. But to be in the top 10% of all Bitcoin holders, you only need about 0.1 Bitcoin, just over 10,000 US dollars at mid-2025 prices. That's the cost of a single second-hand Honda or Toyota. But in terms of rarity, that puts you in the same tier as a traditional millionaire. Own more than one Bitcoin. You are the equivalent of a multi-millionaire in this ecosystem. And more than 10 Bitcoin, you're sitting amongst the billionaires. That is in terms of relative scarcity, not today's dollar value. Here's the kicker. Most of that traditional wealth takes decades of grinding a career, building a business, climbing the property ladder, investing into stocks, navigating legacy financial systems, or being fortunate enough to inherit valuable assets. Bitcoin offers another path. It's not easy, but with time, discipline, and a long-term view, anyone can climb the Bitcoin ladder. It doesn't require trust, banks, or permission. It doesn't require that you already have lots of wealth to leverage off of. You can self-custody it, hold it long-term, and protect yourself from currency debasement, regardless of what the stock markets or central banks do. The beauty of this moment is that the bar is still relatively low, but it won't be for long. As adoption grows and supply tightens, Bitcoin's wealth tiers will become harder and harder to reach. One day, even owning 0.01 Bitcoin could be like owning a Manhattan apartment in the 1960s, a decision that seems insignificant now, but becomes legendary later. Most people won't recognize this opportunity until it's gone. But if you're watching this, you probably already get it. You are early, you're rare, and you have the potential to be playing a very different wealth game. So, did you realize how rare your Bitcoin stack actually is? You can let me know in the comments. I read all your comments and I try to respond if I can. If this video helped you see your position in a whole new light, hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone else who's stacking. And if you want to know how Bitcoin could realistically hit 500,000 based on asset flows from gold, stocks, and bonds, then hit subscribe so you don't miss my next video when it drops. Thanks for watching and see you next time.